region. We take to the skies to get a big picture view of Greater Vancouver. Go deep inside Cleveland Dam and take a look at the GVRD's past and future. Hi and welcome to the Sustainable Region. I'm Kalji Kayla, and today we're visiting Kanaka Creek Park in Maple Ridge. If the word Kanaka makes you think of blue seas and palm trees, you're right. It was a word used by a group of Hawaiian workers back in the late 1800s to describe themselves. They worked on Hudson Bay Company ships and made the lower part of Kanaka Creek their home. Guess the weather was a lot warmer back then. In our first story, we're going to get a bird's eye view of Greater Vancouver, and who better to help us out than Ken Cameron. Ken has over 25 years of experience in urban planning, making him the quintessential tour guide.
So this gives you a really good picture of this gorgeous place, particularly the importance of the Fraser River, which flows down through the center of the region, starts 1,300 kilometers away in the Rocky Mountains and flows down through British Columbia to the sea. Probably the most important natural asset in the region, certainly, and even in British Columbia as a whole. And it formed this region. You can see that the lowlands were as a result of glaciation and later flooding of the Fraser River to create the kind of temperate and pleasant place in which to build a city. We're just passing over the Terra Nova area right now. This was one of the last pieces in West Richmond that was in the Agricultural Land Reserve. There's a lot of controversy. It was the whole city council was defeated over the decision they took to put part of it out of the agricultural land. You can see the houses over on the left there. Some of it's still left in farmland. It shows the importance of political decisions in shaping the region. Just an example of some of the species of migratory birds that use the Fraser River estuaries. There's a huge number of them down there on the water. There are species that rest only here in a migration that begins in Alaska and ends in Central America. So the water and wetlands that we have here at the very mouth of the Fraser, called the estuary, are very, very important for north-south migration of birds and east-west migration of fish. The Westham Island Bridge is one of three bridges that the GVTA, the Greater Vancouver Transportation Authority, owns and operates. The other two are the Knight Street Bridge and the Patullo Bridge. SkyTrain is one of the services that was brought under the Greater Vancouver Transportation Authority when it was set up in 1999. The background behind the Cranberry Fields is Metro Town, Burnaby's regional town center. Regional town centers were the idea conceived in the mid-1970s to bring together a higher density residential, commercial, shopping, community facilities in an area that's walkable and pleasant, and to connect these areas to each other into the downtown by rapid transit. What you're seeing now is Westminster Quay, which is residential and hotel and commercial development, part of New Westminster's Regional Town Center. You can see the SkyTrain coming through which was built in the mid-1980s. So this is where nature stores their water, and the water is in these beautiful, three pristine mountain watersheds, which gather snow during the winter and rain at the rest of the times of the year, so that we can have our supply of water from these very clean areas. Another advantage of our water supply situation is, of course, these mountain lakes are all well above the city. So almost all of our delivery of water to the municipalities is is through gravity. Between the bridge and the entrance to the river, you'll see the Lions Gate wastewater treatment plant, which serves the North Shore municipalities.
How many wastewater treatment plants are there operating with the GVRD?
There's 5. There's 2 on the ocean, this one here and over at Iona Island, and then there's 3 on the river, Lulu Island, Annacis Island, and further up there's one in northwest Langley. Travel into the downtown peninsula has actually declined over the last 5 years as a result of more people living there and walking to work. So Kingsway started off as a trail between New Westminster and Vancouver. It's also kind of symbolic because it represents the direction of population growth in the region for the last 50 years or so. And it does reflect that we only have this sort of area, this kind of pie-shaped area to the east of downtown Vancouver in which to accommodate our growth, because we have the mountains on the north as a constraint and the United States border on the south as a constraint, and then the major barrier of the Fraser River, which has to be confronted in any long-term planning for the region.
Enter the Sustainable Region's Home Sustainability Challenge. Tell us what you are doing to make your home more sustainable, and you will be entered into a draw to win this home sustainability kit. The kit includes low-flow shower heads, a thermostat timer, energy saver light bulbs, and much more. Call us now at 604-436-6794 or email us at sustainableregion@gvrd.bc.ca to enter. Coming up next, a brief history of the GVRD.
Rain, rivers, oceans, water. This is the medium from which the Greater Vancouver Regional District was formed. It began in the late 1800s when the young cities of Vancouver and New Westminster were growing.
Vancouver actually burned to the ground in about 1885, 1886, and one of the problems when Vancouver did burn to the ground was that there was no reliable source of water to be able to put the fire out. 2 very enterprising fellows hiked all the way up in the Capilano Valley and saw that that was a good source of water. That's where all the start of the water district really began.
To reach the city, water pipes were laid across the floor of the first Narrows. New Westminster, with 6,500 people at the turn of the century, had their water needs served by BC Electric's damming of Coquitlam Lake. By 1924, the precursor to the GVRD, the Greater Vancouver Water District was formed when Vancouver and New Westminster banded together to share services. Then, in 1948, water would again prove to be a catalyst for change.
The flood actually begins about the 25th of May, right after Victoria Day, and goes until the middle of June. It's just an awful lot of water, and everybody at that point kind of sat back and said, I think we're in trouble. I think of all the things that we learned from the 48 flood and we've watched since that flood, and one of the things that came out of that is a better policy of working together.
That year, the provincial government created the Lower Mainland Regional Planning Board, which had a mandate to deal with urban sprawl, infrastructure services, farmland, and floodplain protection. The board was so successful and BC's rate of growth so profound that in 1965, the province created 28 districts throughout BC, one of which was the Greater Vancouver Regional District.
Interestingly enough, the partnership model that had led to the foundation of the Greater Vancouver Water District in 1924, that was used as the template for those regional districts.
It's an interesting model, very interesting model, because in most other provinces, in most states in the United States, counties or regional districts or whatever you want to call them become overbearing, monolithic governments that tell people what they have to do. In Vancouver and in British Columbia, regional districts have become wholesalers of service to which municipalities can buy in or not.
Public consultation was seen to be necessary as some of the facilities were going to start to encroach more and more into the living space of the citizens.
The Livable Region Plan at the time was intended to unroll a 20-year vision, and it was embedded in Harry Lash's dream of having a three-part planning process: politicians, planners, and people.
That kind of a strategic plan is very useful for an engineering and from a technical perspective because it allows you to build your facilities. You know where to expect the population centers to be, where you expect industrial activity to be.
In 1998, transportation was put under regional control. Today, TransLink is responsible for seeing that the development of roads, buses, and SkyTrain meet the goals of GVRD strategic planning. Since that first visionary document, GVRD strategic planning has evolved to meet the challenges of a region that is home to over 2 million people.
The Sustainable Region Initiative, the SRI as we call it, came about a couple of years ago as we were looking really at how the region had lost its way a little bit, had lost its sense of vision, and sustainability was the concept we found really resonated with people. People really want to protect what's precious here, really want to hand that down to future generations.
This is Canyon Trail in Kanaka Creek Park. Makes for a beautiful hike. And at the end of the hike, ta-da, Cliff Falls. And they're not called Cliff for nothing. They're actually named after a guy by the name of Arnold Cliff. Now the falls are made of sandstone, so every so often big slabs of rock break loose, changing their appearance dramatically. Coming up next, Suzanne Hepburn fulfills a request to go behind the scenes at the GVRD.
Hi and welcome to Ask an Expert. This is the part of the program where we answer your questions, or at least we find someone who can, because I'm no expert. Today's question comes from Gary Byrne of Ladner, BC, and it's actually more of a request than a question. Gary would like to get a behind-the-scenes look at GVRD operations. Well, Gary, today we're not just going to go behind the scenes, we're going to go inside the scenes with Marilyn Towell, the Cleveland Dam expert extraordinaire. Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, Suzanne.
Wow, that's incredible. Can you tell us what's going on here?
Actually, what we have is the 3 different ways of discharging excess water from Cleveland Dam. We have our drum gate at the top of the spillway, we have our mid-level outlets, and we have low-level outlets. And right now what you're seeing is discharge from our mid-level outlets and our low-level outlets.
And why are you letting the water out?
In the winter time we have a lot more inflow or rain falling in the watershed and filling up our lake, and there's much more than we can use. And what we do is we discharge any of the excess water downstream to the Capilano River to Burrard Inlet.
The water seems to be moving really quickly. What would happen if a log got caught up in it?
Actually, that's a very good question, Suzanne, and that's where we're going to go next. So Suzanne, you're not claustrophobic, are you?
Why do you ask?
These are our traveling screens, and what they do is they filter out the small bits of material out of the water as it comes into our intakes. And upstream of this at the lake itself, we actually have some coarser screens which are called the trash racks, and that keeps out the bigger logs and stuff that might come into the water. And then where we're going to continue on, we're going to go in here. Are you sure you're not claustrophobic?
Why? Where are we going?
of our access and inspection galleries within Cleveland Dam. And this blue pipeline that you see here, this is our supply pipeline that goes from our pump station downstream of Cleveland Dam up to the West Vancouver. And this is our drum gate control chamber. It's probably the most critical piece of equipment in the dam. It allows us to release the larger flows that come into the reservoir. And the equipment's here, but it's all controlled from our Lake City Operations Center. So Suzanne, we're about 50 feet below the top of the dam right now, and we've got about another 200 feet to go.
Whoa, okay.
Fortunately, we don't have to walk all the way down. We actually have an elevator. And I'll send you down first.
Okay.
And our crew is waiting down below, so they'll see you out at the bottom end.
Here I go.
Have a good trip.
Okay, we're traveling down now. Apparently, before they built this elevator, people had to climb down on this ladder by foot and then climb back up. The elevator was put in about 30 years ago. I'm sure the people were greatly relieved. I can't imagine climbing up 200 feet. Oh, I'm at the bottom already. Amazing down here. It's hard to imagine how it's been built.
It was actually quite a big construction project when it happened. It took over 2 years to build. And it's just basically a massive lump of concrete sitting in what was originally just a rock canyon. And there's very few openings or passageways such as we're walking through right now.
I feel like I'm in some secret tunnel.
It is.
Oh, wow.
So where we're going to go now is a little doorway where we can see the spill actually shooting off the end of the dam. So this is the doorway that I was talking to you about, and basically where we're at the lowest level of the dam. We're sort of at the bottom of the spillway and just downstream. So if you actually go out this doorway, you can actually look back up at the spillway. And what we see right now is the water just shooting past, and the volume that's going past us is from those mid-level outlets. And when those are fully open, we're releasing about 100 cubic meters every second down the stream. And that's about the end of our tour of Cleveland Dam. You've seen all there is to see.
It's amazing.
And we'll just head right out right now.
Okay, thanks, Marilyn. Well, Gary, I hope that was behind the scenes enough for you. If you've got a question about the Lower Mainland that you'd like an expert to answer, give us a call at 604-436-6794 or email us at thesustainableregion@gvrd.bc.ca. Thanks for watching. I'm Suzanne Hepburn, and I'll see you next time.
At about the midpoint of Kanaka Creek Park, you can find the Belle Irving Hatchery. This is Hatchery Manager John Heaven. Hi, John.
Hi, good to see you.
So tell me a little bit about this facility and how it operates.
Well, the hatchery's open all year to the public to come and visit, and we're currently incubating eggs, and once those have developed enough, we move them down into the tanks, and as the coho grow a little bit bigger, we then move them out to the ponds outside. So let's go down and see how the coho are doing out there.
Okay, great.
So here we are at the pond.
Okay.
So let's get some fish food, and you can throw some in and feed the fish.
Oh, that smells lovely.
Don't lose the scoop as you throw.
So I just let it go?
Just let it go.
Okay. Wow, there's so many of them. So John, why do we need hatcheries anyways?
Well, we have hatcheries to help offset the habitat loss that we've incurred out there over the last years. We've got lots of building going on. We've got lots of loss of forest and trees and stuff like that. But also the facility has a great educational component, and we encourage students and the public to come in and see what's going on. And we're averaging close to 2,000-3,000 students a year now through here, which is great value for them.
So where do the fish go after this?
The fish in the pond right now can get released straight into the creek from here, or we can truck them off-site and release them into other streams. And why don't we go and release some fish right now?
Okay, great.
So here we are at the release site. So why don't you take the bucket of coho and tip them into the creek, and you can wave them goodbye.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Okay, here we go, guys. Oh. Bye, guys. Good luck. It is said in the future water will become one of the world's most precious resources. But what are some of the other issues facing us here in this region? We talked to local activists and GVRD CAO Johnny Carline to find out.
Our region, the Greater Vancouver Regional District, is expected to grow by about another 1 million people in the next 30 years.
Housing is a part of growth. Growth leads to transportation. Transportation is fueled by energy. Energy causes air pollution. The whole thing is tied together. The ongoing challenge of a growing region like Vancouver is growth management. Where is the growth going to go? Is it going to be in a form that is livable, attractive to people? Is it going to sprawl? Are we going to be able to manage the growth?
Status quo development is sort of your typical suburb, and with houses separated from shops and from workplaces. But more and more now, there are more mixed-use developments being built, and they're very popular. People understand that it's way better to be able to walk to get a liter of milk than have to get in their car to get every little thing they need. If we change the way we charge development cost charges and how we tax, there would be more incentive for developers to use the land more efficiently. Some municipal jurisdictions are not cooperating as well as they could be with the regional government. So in order for our region to grow sustainably, all municipalities have to buy in to a long-range growth management plan and stick to it.
The biggest challenges for the region is affordability, housing affordability, both in the home ownership market and within rental housing. The Greater Vancouver District is amongst the highest rents in the country and the lowest vacancy rates. We need fair and balanced provincial tenancy legislation. We also need the federal and the provincial governments to step back into building affordable housing for low-income people and people with disabilities. We see a mixture of policies across the region on secondary suites, for example. The municipalities in the Greater Vancouver Regional District really need to work together.
We're the only major metropolitan area in North America that hasn't built a freeway that cuts right through the downtown core. You cannot sort of address the traffic congestion problem alone just through building new roads. The main focus is to shift people out of their cars and get them to take other modes of travel. We need to build a transit system that's essentially competitive, time competitive with the private automobile by charging for parking in places where it's now free, or looking at the introduction of tolls on bridges will be a factor in reducing the number of car trips. Once you've done that, then the transit trip becomes more attractive. It's really about recovering the costs of the transportation system that we're already paying for. What's at stake still is really, future political will and the willingness of the public to invest.
Energy is going to be far more important component of our conscious strategies than it has been in the past.
The big emphasis will be on trying to do things better than we're doing now. In other words, with higher efficiency. So driving vehicles that produce much smaller quantities of emissions and are much more energy efficient.
I think we're going to be looking at the way we use energy and the way we reuse energy. I think we're going to be looking to group activities closer together that can make use of energies from one source to the other.
Certainly on the electricity side, I think we'll see more of a move to a distributed generation system where there'll be more and smaller individual generators who will use energy for their own purposes on site, and then they may be able to export any excess to the local surroundings.
Many of the things we build we hope are going to be here for 30, 40, 50 years and sometimes even longer. So the decisions you make today have a very long-term impact. That trend is very difficult to change, and so you nudge it along, you change the path a little bit at a time. And in 15, 20 years, then you can actually start to see the real changes that you've effected. It's not an overnight kind of thing.
And that's our show for this week. Tune in again next time. If you would like to visit Kanaka Creek Park, it's in Maple Ridge off Dewdney Trunk Road, or you can always call the GVRD Parks East office at 604-530-4983 for more information and directions. We would also like to hear from you, so if you would like to suggest a story or ask an expert a question that's been bugging you, you can call us at 604-436-6794 or email us at sustainableregion@gvrd.bc.ca. We'll see you next time.